Warning, this show contains adult content, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to episode 152, Up and In It show with Adrian Babashoff. If you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. And today, through some requests, is what to do for recession. And today's topics is recession preparedness made simple. Thank you, Dean from China. Thank you so much for the comments. It really means a lot. And we're here for you and everybody else who's commented. Today, though, I've been asked to just make it very simple. Like, we need to start from square one. There's a lot of people, as I said, the shit's starting to go down, and a lot of people aren't sure what to do. I don't claim to have all the answers. I could just share with you my opinions on what I think that we should all do and try to help out in any way that I can. And I think that we're going to try to keep this really, really simple, like ABC style. But in order to start all this off is, I think like Dean from China says, is you want to make sure that you're not using your emotions so much and not living in your emotions because of this whole thing. You got to start thinking. We got to start reacting. And I think a lot of people are going to go down, and when you get upset and you get stressed out, you can't really think clearly. And we got to start from square one. And I think that if people are so lost in all of this, because it is chaotic, it's very difficult to hone in and to actually find out exactly what is going on. So I would say, to start off, we'll do a series of these if you guys want. Keep the comments coming in. Let me know what you want to hear. But I think we need to identify with the very first things. It is starting to hail on me. I'm in my F-350 pickup truck here. This is my mobile studio, and I got ice bouncing off me. So sorry for the background noise. But we need to define the very big ones. And the very big ones, to me, at least here in the U.S., and I believe most parts of the world, is going to be your shelter, your food, and your fuel. I've monitored my life just like you would do for a business with taxes. You want to go and take your bank statements. For those of you who run everything by card and you have your old bank statements, you can go through these things and just start organizing stuff just like you would with taxes. Is what was for fuel, what went for rent, what went for utilities, what went for food. And you start organizing these things and you get a general idea. Once we know which ones are the high ones, which was the second to highest, the third to highest, then we can kind of look at these ones and focus on those ones. Because the little ones like your trash bill or things like that, clothes, for me really like electricity and gas, like propane for my home, things like that, they don't really affect me too much. It's the ones that are concerning are the really big ones. So let's get into what we could do for shelter. I've already said this one to almost nauseum, but to me, my number one choice, if we're heading towards a recession and things are going bad, even if there is no recession, I think it's still something that you should keep as an option, is RV living. It's the most cheapest entry. Dean from China, again, has sent me some pictures of some people living in these little tiny RV, little tiny homes, basically, that run off. It looks like a moped. They're very, very small. Some of them, I'm not sure if you're able to pedal with a bike, but I mean, these things were really, really cool. I like them. I don't know what the cost of things of those are. I imagine they're for someone to build them for you, and as lightweight as they are, they'd probably be built out of aluminum, lightweight metals and things. So there's a question of the stability of these things for long term. How well would they maintain? Anything aluminum, you start jarring it. Aluminum, for those of you who don't know, is a very soft metal. And I think even living in RVs, some of these RVs are like 50% aluminum. Well, when you start driving down the road, you get the vibrations and the tensions and things like that. So you get a screw that wants to start ripping at the soft metal slowly by slowly. And I don't think that's a very good thing. We're going to start getting things delaminating. We're going to get things starting to separate. So I'd really, really watch out for the construction of things like this to make sure that they're very well built. Number two, one of my concerns is if you ever had some high winds. We just got some gusts here in Sunnyside, California, of like 60-mile-per-hour winds. There was some semi trucks that got knocked over, and it's mainly in the desert areas, places like that. I don't know where you are in the country or in the world, but a shelter should be just that. You should feel safe. I don't know how fast you can, on a moped, you can relocate if there was, a hurricane or something like that, but definitely something to consider. But yeah, getting into the RVs, I think that this is the lowest for at least here for me in the United States. This is the lowest entry form. I paid about $12,000, I think, for my rig, and it's got everything in it. I've said this before, where a lot of people are going towards the tiny house living, and to build with lumber prices, especially right now, is ridiculous. But to go and build one yourself is going to take a lot of time, and it actually ends up costing a lot of money. So you got to put a sink, you got to put heating, cooling, stovetop, things like that, a place to bathe. Whereas you buy something that's already built and built semi-well. I wouldn't say that RVs are meant to live in. Don't want to waste you guys' time. There's the living in a stationary RV full time. I did a whole podcast, mentioned it a lot on here, but it's definitely the lowest entry to get into low cost overhead living. Mobile homes are my next one. Before you go RV living, I just did a show last week, I think, about the reflections on the tiny living like I've been doing, and it's definitely cramped. It's definitely not the easiest thing, but you know what's not easy too is losing your shit, and being stuck in debt and, not having any freedom in your life. Whereas for me, I can pick up and leave. I can relocate anytime I want, really, as long as I aim myself to the right direction. But yeah, I wouldn't want to get stuck living in an RV for the rest of my life. I don't think it's very healthy. As far as where I live, there's gravel. We don't really have a yard whatsoever at all. It's just all gravel. And those are the things that I spoke about last week, where it's not too conducive. We do utilize having the freedom that we do. We're able to go down to the lake and the parks and stuff that we have over here in the RV park in which I live. But we also utilize the mountains and the deserts and the beach and things like that because, we have such a low overhead. So I figured make that your backyard. So things to take in consideration, but really in the cost, dollar for dollar, when you look at living in an RV and a lot of the things that can go wrong, and definitely the cost of tiny living, you need to figure out where you're going to park that tiny house that you're going to build. And just to give you guys an idea, at least here in California, I think these things, tiny houses, and this was back then before this recession and this disruption in the supply chain, you're looking at like 60, 70, 80 grand to build one of these. Another thing to take in consideration is that the building codes. For instance, where I live, you can't just build your own tiny house and just show up and say, hey, I want to park it here. They want to see that the city approved it, basically that the thing's not going to catch on fire, and cause disruption to the park. So you might want to check on things like that. It is legal, for those of you who don't know, in Sunnyside, California at least, and I think in Fresno, California, places like that. I think the tiny house movement is finally changing. The laws are becoming more lenient, and people who own properties are able to house a tiny house. Can't be a trailer. So I'd say the tiny house has an upper advantage than a travel trailer. If you have a tiny house and it is approved by a building inspector and you can build it yourself. You just got to have the inspections done. If you can get that all done, you can actually live on somebody's property. Problem is, though, let's look at the cost. We have, from over here, we have, I think the cheapest area I'm at is about $900. I just raised the rent again, about $900 to $800 a month. Now, it's month to month. You can live as long as you want in places like this. But when I'm just saying about a mobile home, if we look in contrast to quality of life, you can at least get a little patch of grass, and a little bit of a backyard. And the space rent is maybe $100 more, $150 more a month. So for $1,050 here, again, I know that's expensive for a lot of you guys in the other parts of the country. But you'd have to look at what the rent spaces are for the mobile homes. But in contrast to all of that, if you look at it, First, number one, RV living is the cheapest route to go. So if you're hurting, go for that. If you're not, and you are concerned about quality of life, consider looking at both a tiny house and a mobile home. You're going to end up spending about the same amount of money, or maybe $100 more, to park your little tiny house in a little tiny gravel pit. Whereas you can get a mobile home and invest, probably, if you wait long enough, find a fixer-upper, $80,000 to $100,000. I've seen them even cheaper. I've seen some here as low as $45,000. Thing was a mobile home I'm talking about, was wrecked. But the lot space was $900 a month. That's exactly what I'm paying here right now. And you had a little backyard. And it was a 2-bedroom. So things that just take in consideration. And also, I would say, as we were talking about the integrity of the building, I think a mobile home's a little better built than an RV, and maybe even possibly a tiny house, in my opinion anyways, for the long game. Again, the tiny houses are cool, made out of wood. If they're made, I definitely would not want to brace stuff with aluminum, but even wood gets tired if however it's fastened with nails or staples or things like that. And by moving it from one place to the other, it's definitely going to break down. I don't think those things were made to just go, moving more than a few times, maybe once every 5 years or 10 years maybe, but you definitely don't want to haul in all the weight. So we talked about this is for people just doing their own thing, but if you can't make it alone, you can't do your own thing, you might want to consider multiple family cooperation. And it wasn't very long ago that a lot of us had our parents living with us, and some of us even cousins. And I've lived with having one of my grandparents living with me. I've lived with my grandparents. This is actually how I got myself ahead. I lived with my grandfather in Los Angeles for about 2.5, 3 years. And I paid all my debt off. I owned my vehicles, my ex-wife's vehicle. I worked, and I saved a bunch of money, got myself my nest egg. And I fixed things around my grandfather's house. I even tried to offer him money. My grandfather was set, I guess. He owned his house free and clear and everything, so he wouldn't accept my money, but he definitely accepted my labor. Plumbed half of his house and fixed the roof and did yard work and things like that, installed a garage door. And so I did a lot of different stuff, and it was a good equal value for value exchange. So it really helped my life out a lot. I talk a lot about in this show is the mindset. And my mindset is I'm after the thing, which means freedom for me. I'm after freedom. I'm after independence. I'm after changing this whole lifestyle around. So I really don't care what other people think of me. And I say that a lot on this show. I think a lot of you should consider moving in with your parents. I think if it's embarrassing for you, maybe you should consider moving in with your kids. I mean, what's the big fucking deal? As I say all the time, aesthetics and fuck propriety. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to look the part, trying to look rich, and you're not rich. If you are, then great. I think even if you are semi-rich, by joining forces with other people, it only reinforces your stability, your sustainability, and your resiliency. So stop the ego and figure out what you can do to start saving money and get ahead, or maybe to help other people out. So multiple family cooperation, I think, is way underrated. I think a lot of people, with their pride or whatever it is, want to do their own thing. Do it. I mean, if you fall, then you're going to have to go after some of these things that I'm telling you, some very different life changes. I think if you don't have family or you just don't get along, you guys are ready to kill each other, or just, it's just not going to happen. You might want to consider intentional communities. There's a lot of communities out there, organizations of people who own lots of lands. And I've visited them, I've lived in them, and you can live in a tent. You can bring, right now, there's an area, I don't want to mention their name, but they actually have people living in RVs on their property. Cool story is the property was actually owned by the actor John Wayne years ago. It's got an indoor swimming pool and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like 9.5 acres. I actually sought these people out to do my spin farming. For those of you who don't know, farming on other people's land that you don't own in exchange for, an equal for value exchange. But yeah, I went to the property there and saw the people living there, and they've got a giant kitchen, and everybody pulls together. They have these places all over the world. I mean, talk about freedom, which I love to express on the show. You can imagine that if you were part of a lot of different communities, it would free you up to go all over the world. What if you met friends? What if you met people that were like you, that maybe cared about the earth? And just even if you didn't do all that, you got fresh, good, clean food, because a lot of these people produce their own food. You've got a very fun time. But the thing about the freedom I like is that I call it the bumblebee effect. I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this on my show, but I call it the bumblebee because you can bounce around the world, possibly, not just your country. But you can bounce around the world, make YouTube videos, do podcasting. That's actually my plan, my fallback plan for everything, is to do exactly what it is that I'm about to tell you. I'm proving myself that I know the things that I work on. I know how to fix things. I know how to garden. I know how to produce my own energy. I know I'm an asset, basically, is what I'm trying to say, or I'm a person of my word. And a lot of people need that to be proven to them. So one of the worst things that you can do, it's the best thing, but one of the worst things you can do to people is offer them help, fix things, help them, and ask nothing in return. It's the worst thing you could do. It slays them. Then they want you around. So if you went around and you were doing these type of things, the amount of freedom you would have would be to travel around the whole entire world. And everywhere that you went, you'd have a free place to stay. You'd have to do some work and things like that, but you'd have a place to land immediately that night. You'd be in a shelter, as we were talking about, and you'd be surrounded by other people who are working together. So you may want to consider community living. Another word on community is that you don't necessarily have to live together. I think a lot of us should be looking to build community around our regions. As far as what housing, it's a little spur off here, but if we all start approving each other and helping each other out, and as far as making it through a recession, or any time anybody gets ill, something, you start creating a group of friends, of like-minded people. There's virtually the ceiling's the limit. There's so much that can happen there. I think even the housing thing, if you met really, really cool people, that maybe two families could actually move together if you got to know each other good enough. So I think it's definitely something, there's a lot of power in that. And I think that's what's missing in our society. We got to start thinking out of the box. We got to start looking around at everything around us. Start, as I say, running towards the problem and focusing on the negatives and going, how can I fix this? What are the solutions? That's a big, big thing of not just this show, but my life. I am tired of people being negative and just talking shit about how fucked up things are and having no idea, putting no energy into what are the solutions. So if we sit long enough and we utilize our minds and our creativity and our imagination to just brood on these things and sit there and go, what else can we do? There's nothing that's impossible. There's always problems and there's always a solutions. And that's what I look at. Let's talk about the solutions. We know what the problems are. We hear enough of that. But we need some damn solutions, and we need to start working on these things. And a side note here, as far as all of these things I'm telling you, as far as this whole topic of the show is how to prepare for a recession, a lot of these things should have been implemented years ago. We've all been fooled. We've let ourselves be fooled to follow suit. And now look where we're at, especially if you're hurting. How good is this system handling? And where's all the help? Where's your government? Where's your friends? Where's the community? Who's helping who? In my eyes, I don't see everybody's lives, and I'm not saying that everybody has it, but the majority of us, I think, have acted, we've worked, we've functioned on our own, and now we're finding out that a lot of it's very difficult. So if you are, I don't want to beat anybody up. I'm just saying that, we got to start thinking way outside the box. We got to start leaving the emotions aside and start really, really focusing. Our ego, biggest one, take that, wad it up into a ball, flush it down the toilet and forget about it. So yeah, I don't want to get too crazy on that one. But worst case scenario, I would say, I've said this one before, is camping gear. A lot of us own camping stuff, a tent, a little camping stove, a little propane thing, sleeping bags, maybe a little cushion, a little air cushion thing that you got, a backpack. If you don't have these things, you should, I would say, if you're going down, and I mean going down, you have no place to stay and you're going to be homeless. I think, and it's the last barely any money that you have, or you're able to conjure some up by washing cars or recycling metals or whatever it is that you can do. Invest in a very good tent. And if you are a good person and you met someone like me, and I had even my gravel little pit that I have over here, I would invite you to stay. I'd say, yeah, I don't have room in my house. We're already, all locked, clumped up in there. But I set up your tent outside in my backyard. I got no problem with that. And if a recession's hitting and all hell's going through, I don't think that the cities and the governments and stuff are going to come and start picking on people living in their tents, especially if you got a bunch of kids, and you got no place to go. But to me, that shelter goes up instantly, and it's the actually lowest entry to a low overhead living. So consider that. Get yourself a really good sleeping bag. Get yourself a really good tent. Over here in Los Angeles, I get I go to the REI, it's called, and I'm not affiliated with anybody. I'm not sponsored by anybody but the School of Life. But yeah, I buy 4-season tents, for those of you who don't know, 3-season tents, stuff that go actually in the snow. So these are very well built. Again, like I said, if you've got a windstorm or it's raining or it's freezing cold, these things will actually keep you warm. I've lived in a tent for a while. Woke up in the morning and opened up unzipped the door, and literally ice fell off. I was covered in a layer of ice, and I was still snug, warm as a bug. No heater, no nothing. Very good sleeping bag though. And yeah, it worked out fantastic. So do your research. Get yourself a tent. Don't go sleeping in the streets and stuff like that. I think that, like I said, if you're a person of your word and you're willing to put in the work, and there's people all over that need stuff. Everybody needs something. I mean, even if you went in, I'll just throw it out there, and you're living in a tent. Sure, it's not the most ideal, but let's just say, going off California numbers here, I'm paying $900 a month. What if you came and you just said, hey, look, I'm going to work all day because I need to get out of the hole I'm in. I just need a place to sleep that's safe for me and my family. So I'll pay you $150 a month. I don't need any electricity or nothing, whatever it is. I'm just painting a picture there. Everybody could use that little bit of help. And if everybody grouped up together, I think that we can definitely make something happen. We can get out of the mess that we got into. So moving on, next here is our food. This is our second most expensive, at least for me, I think, and most people. In order to combat that, again, we have to diagnose this thing. We have to get a perspective. We have to get it in our sight. What exactly is going on? So in order to do that, I would recommend that you do a journal. Write down everything that you eat. Write down everything that your kids eat. If you have a pet, write down what your pet eats. I think that one's pretty simple. You want to start getting an idea of exactly what it is that you're eating. And the next thing you want to do is you want to start pricing those things out. I think we need to take a really good, close care as far as taking care of our health. It's one of my notes in here. We don't want to just live off rice and beans. That's not very healthy for you. That's why I say gardening should be one of the things that you start doing immediately. And it really doesn't, gardening, I'm spurring off here, I know, but it's not as hard as what you guys think, man. Really, you can put stuff in the ground and things will start growing. To feed yourself 100%, that's a job. That's a big, big job. I've done research, and it seems to me like the magic number, I haven't recently looked into it, but it's about an acre of land for one person to really, really do it. And I'm talking, we need to implement animals and all kinds of different things. There's foraging that we can do and all that, but I don't want to make the show about that. But I just want to say that, look, it sounds like it's intimidating. Some people I've hearing are intimidated by it. They don't know the first thing. I mean, really, if you follow things like listen to my biodegradable container gardening episodes, it's really not that hard at all. You can pick up any bathtubs. You can make little planter boxes out of recycled wood, plastic, 5-gallon buckets. I mean, there's whatever will hold soil. Get those type of things, or just start utilizing somebody's soil. go start spin farming someone's backyard. A handful of seeds can take you a very, very long way. But getting back on topic here, journaling what you eat and then organizing these things. Organize them in a list and then find out what all these things cost. And now you have a cost ratio of what the heck's going on with that food. Now you can kind of play around with that thing. And you can start introducing new things to your children and to yourself to find out, are these things, can we live on these things? Do they make me feel satisfied? Do I have any food allergies or anything like that? I think when times get desperate, food is food. So you either eat or you don't. And I think what everybody needs to experience, and I think this whole recession thing, if it happens, I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy that everybody gets hungry, because then you remember what that feels like. Because we've all been sitting here with big, full, fat bellies, warm bellies filled to the brim with nice, yummy food, and foods that we necessarily don't need to eat. I think not all of us, but a lot of us have been spoiled. So I think this is a good, spank in the pants where we're like, wow. It makes you, and it's a positive. I don't mean this as a negative one bit. All the fancy foods and things that you've had just right in your arm's reach, when all that's gone and it comes back, you appreciate it way, way more. So yeah, we need to create a budget. And there's only two ways that that I've got written down here. There's a guy by the name of Dave Ramsey. I have no affiliation again with anybody or anything. So there's any names or products, I have no affiliation with any of them. Dave Ramsey has a way of cash. I don't really like this one, especially if the recession hits and times start going pretty bad. I think there's going to be a lot of thievery. Somebody's going to come and turn you upside down and shake the gold coins out of your pockets. I don't think it's too wise to be carrying around large sums of money. I would say if you're going to go this cash route, to carry only what you need, and that makes it difficult. So let's just say you had a budget of $400. Take $100 of that, and that's still a lot of money, I know, for a lot of you. Take just that $100 and see how far you can stretch it. And that's only for food. When you get home, you take the rest of that money, you put that the change, the coins or whatever you got, you put that all in an envelope, that stays for food. When you run out, then you're eating rice and beans. That's the way you can budget it and keep track of things. I guess this is a way of, if you're acting like a little child and you're not going to actually get a calculator or use what I'm saying next here to run your life and budget, and you have to have an allowance to force yourself to do that. I guess that's the best way to do it. So Dave Ramsey says carry around cash and allot those envelopes only to specific things where you have entertainment and all those kind of deals there. I like a better route. I like using things on my credit card, which I pay off instantly. I never carry a balance, or your bank card. And basically what I do, and even if you are using the cash method, this is going to work. I think I'm going to do a video on this, a quick one on TikTok and Instagram, just to show people how fast you can organize your life. And this will change the course of your life. By you organizing with your food, this is going to go with everything. Organizing something that's called Apple's Numbers or Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And you can get it here on your smartphone, on any phone here. I'm sure there's other apps too, but you literally don't even do any math. So what you're going to do, if you're going to adult up and you're going to human up to yourself, you're going to make this format. You're going to make this box, which I'll show on TikTok. And you're going to list, I did a whole podcast on this. You're going to make a list of, let's just keep it simple though, as you guys have asked for. Let's just put food. And all you got to do is put groceries. You may want to separate stuff like soap, shampoo, toilet paper. Definitely separate your dog food, your pet food if you have a pet or something. But right under food, it's just going to be what you and your family eat. You don't need to write down what it is or anything. But there's these little cells, and it's all these little boxes, right, that go right underneath food. This is Microsoft Excel or Apple's Numbers. It's all the same. You're going to enter in a number, and you're going to put, let's say you went to shopping this week and you spent $80. You type in $80 and then you push enter. It logs in $80 right underneath food, and then you have an auto sum that you can all those boxes, right? Keeping it simple. Down that $80 at the very bottom, say there's 20 boxes. At the very bottom, it adds everything up immediately. So all you have to do is enter in a number, any number. So let's keep the story going on here. You go $80. Next week, you forgot the milk. You just happened to be by the store, so you bought some milk and I don't know, some cookies and carrots, whatever, for $12, $12.33. You type in $12.33, and it automatically adds up. Whatever, I'm not going to do the math right now, but it automatically adds everything down at the bottom. Right? So all of these things that you're using, fuel, gas, entertainment, all of these things, they all start adding up in their own columns. And it's an auto sum. So as everything sums up straight down, you can also auto sum that last category, that last box, where it has all of the sums going down. It's hard to explain, but everything was going from top to bottom. Now you can go from left to right. And that's going to add up everything that you've been spending. So it adds up the food, it adds up the pet food, it adds up the entertainment, whatever it was that you were using, fuel. And now every week you can look to the far right corner and you can literally see how much money you've been spending on everything. This, my friends, will change the course of your life. Now you're getting perspective, as we opened up with. Now you're getting to see, as the month progresses, you begin to see the numbers adding up. And that's when it gives you the red light or the green light saying, hey, we're right on track. We're okay. This is when you're going to take which we're going to get into in another episode. This is when you're going to look at your income and you're going to say, if I make, I don't know, some of you guys like $30,000 a year, you're going to take and you're going to say, well, $30,000 divided by 12 is how much I get per month. And then that's your number. And I'm talking net. That's what you bring home. That's not before taxes. What you actually make, what your paycheck says, you got deposited. It's going to tell you on this Microsoft Excel or Zapple's numbers in these columns. You're going to see that the number getting closer and closer to that budget. So if let's just throw it out there, it's $1,500 a month as you spend $400 on food, $200 on gas, $900 on rent. You can start to see where everything starts to fill up. What's very wonderful about this too is that if you want to go entertain yourself and you want to order a pizza or go grab some drinks or just maybe something you want to buy, you can literally look at these numbers and go, can I sacrifice something here to actually get that? Can I actually afford to buy myself a pizza or a hamburger or, go out some, I don't know, Tom Kha Kai soup or something? You can literally see where all that's going. And this is when you can organize your life and start getting your shit together. And it really wakes you up. And I'm not sure if a lot of people are actually willing to do this type of work. I've spoken to a lot of people I know, a lot of people who came to me and says, can you help? And when I asked them, do you have a budget? And they're like, sort of. I'm like, okay, well, do you even know exactly what's going on? No. I said, what? And I specifically gave them all the tools and they never used it. I think the majority of people are just going to be lazy, and that's why we're in a hole. That's why the recession will affect people like that, because they're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to organize their life. They're not willing to create a budget and stick to it. They're the type of people, as the Dave Ramsey guy was saying, is you got to have cash and you need to treat yourself like a child. And when that cash runs out, that's it. You don't eat, or you're eating beans and rice, or you're eating your fucking cat's food. So yeah, we don't want to knock anybody up, here, beat you all up and everything, but you got to get down. You got to do these things. And I promise you, it will change the course of your life. Let's play around with some little things like intermittent fasting. I know a lot of us, like me, are fatter than fuck. I've got a belly on me, and it's all paid for. But, as we start progressing, getting older and everything, I really don't care to look good for the ladies and stuff like that. Really, I want to feel good. But there's a part of me that wants to look good too. I don't want to let myself go getting fat and everything. I want to continue exercising. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. And carrying around that excessive weight is not good for your health. But it comes to the bright light of truth here too. It's not good for your pocketbook. So intermittent fasting, for those of you who don't know, is when for me, I stop eating around 6 p.m. is my latest. And the earliest I eat is the next day at around 11:30. So meaning I don't eat for about 18 hours a day. And I put in when I'm sleeping to combat that. So I'm not, I do a lot of physical labor for my occupation. So I need the energy by noon. So yeah, I do intermittent fasting and I'm saving money because I'm only eating 2 meals a day. I've been doing this for the past 2 years, I think. And I lost a lot of weight. One thing I will say, though, I'm not sure. I think I'm losing some muscle mass over it. I think when the body, what you basically do through intermittent fasting is your body you start starving it out, so it starts to utilize the fat that it has going on it. So I believe what it's said that your body starts to convert the fat to energy that you have in your body, starts eating it up. So I literally, guys, have lost weight without even when I get into my busy season. I don't even do a lot of exercise as far as cardio and stuff like that, but my job is pretty, it's roofing construction mainly. It is pretty strenuous and very physically demanding, so I think I kind of got that on my side. But yeah, I didn't stop eating bread and things like that, and I still lost weight. So it's not something to consider. That look at, you're stacking functions, as I like to say on the show. You're saving money. You're starting to look good if that's important to you. You're losing weight, and it's good for your health. And maybe something different. And I think it's actually healthy for you, because when that lunchtime comes around, I'm not going to lie, there's some days where I'm like, ooh, that smoothie tasted good. And just to give you guys, I don't have on my notes here, but one of the things I do to save money and to stack functions, I say to stay healthy, is I eat a plant-based protein powder. They sell it at Costco out here. It's a chocolate flavor. They got a vanilla. I wait till they go on sale. Usually they're about 40, 50 bucks, I think, in health food stores. And I get the exact same one. It's all organic. It's got lots of vitamins and minerals in it. And I wait till they go on sale for like half price, like $19, and I just stock up. And I have probably about, I'd say like 15 of these things laying around. They make a good emergency food because they're lightweight. You can mix water in them. I mix mine with organic boxed almond milk. Doesn't need refrigeration. You can open this thing up. I usually make about a quart-size mason jar of 3 scoops of protein powder. I add in some flax seed and stuff like that. Let me see, what else am I putting? Some moringa powder. I add in some reishi mushrooms. You can kind of put whatever you want in there. Just add a few little things. Sometimes when I have the time, I'll actually blend up apples and bananas, and if I can afford it or it's in my budget, I'll do some berries like black cherries or something like that, strawberries, mango, whatever. Throw some fruits in there, and even some vegetables you could put. But yeah, it tastes really, really good when you're starving. But I pretty much eat the same food a lot. It's been years, and that's my mainstay. Right now I do have some dried Italian sausage or salami, thinly sliced with some organic cheese. And I just eat a couple of those if I really need a snack, or here in the back of my truck, which I'm filming my show. And for those of you watching on YouTube, I've got, actually, here it is right here. Here it is. It's there's my organic stuff I've been talking about. I also use a peanut powder that goes in there. So yeah, really cheap. So health before wealth. I think that we need to save money. There's a recession. Yes, we're stressing out. We need to calm the fuck down. The stress is what kills. That's what I think is one of the number one killers. It's the number one product of disease, such as cancer. Just again, this is my opinion, because a happy, stressed out body doesn't function very well. I think your mind doesn't function very well when you're not healthy. CBD is what I use for, I buy CBD gummies, what I use for anxiety. It's what I use for stress when I do get stressed out. As well set off as I am, again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm not claiming I'm a millionaire. I'm not. I'm driving an old 1996 F-350 pickup truck. It's built like a tank. I'll have the truck for the rest of my life, completely rebuildable. Is it cool? No, it's not cool at all. Cool to me, But yeah, I look at health before wealth in the body, and I think we need to calm stuff down so that we can think clearly. But I also think that nutritionally we need to be careful. I think for a lot of you who are doing like I'm doing, where you're drinking, eating basically simple foods and stuff like that. If a lot of you are living off rice and beans, not a lot of vegetables, not a lot of meats and stuff like that, you're not getting a lot of vitamins out of these things. In my opinion, just living off carbohydrates like potatoes and stuff like that, that's what we got going on right now, is people are like, yeah, greatest survival foods, potatoes and rice and beans. They store well, they're cheap, and yeah, but what's the nutritional value? What good is wealth and making tons of money if you don't have your health to enjoy it? So another thing that I do, a tip I want to give you guys is, is supplements. And people can afford these things. You can go down and get some cheap supplements, a multivitamin, and to make up for the nutritional value that you're not getting in your food. It's, in my opinion, it's the same thing as growing your food, as we talked about earlier, vegetables and stuff like that, and even animals. We're miners of the soil. If your plants aren't doing too good, we give them a multivitamin. I just had the problems where I had powdery mildew happening in my plants. This is a perfect explanation too of your body's health and diseases and sicknesses and things like that. So my plants, some of my plants were very weak, and it was the weak plants that the aphids, the insects came and started eating, and also the powdery mildew started attacking, because it would attack one but not another. That means that that plant doesn't have sufficient amount of vitamins. So what ended up happening is I did a foliar spray, meaning you take, I think this one's 4 quarts of water, and you're using basically some supplements and zinc sulfate, and you're going to mix a certain amount of that with the water, and you're going to foliar. You're going to spray the leaves of your plants, and you do this early in the morning when it's cool and a day that's overcast, so that the plants can actually absorb these vitamins inside their cells. And lo and behold, a lot of my plants, almost all of them, have gained their strength, and the powdery mildew is no longer existent in them. I feel the same way of our bodies. Our bodies are built to deal with toxins and diseases and things like that through our immune system. But how does our immune system function very well? How does it stay strong? It stays strong by getting the proper nutrients that it needs. So does that make sense, that it's basically the fuel of your body? And in order to keep that up, I guess I'm trying to sell you guys on the idea that the multivitamins are at least giving you vitamin B12 and vitamin C's and things like that, zinc and iron, and your body can process that, and you will think better, you will feel better. Is it the best way without exercise and eating shitty foods? No, but it's something. So I think it's definitely a cheat sheet, and multivitamins are relatively cheap. And I would recommend, first of all, that you guys check out a gentleman. This is where I get almost all my information. I am sold on this guy because he's not selling anything. Just like me, there's nothing for sale. People keep asking him, can you please give us supplements? We'd like to buy your brand. He goes, I don't sell them. I don't want to sell them. I don't care which ones you eat, don't eat. There's a difference in them. And I think this man could definitely educate yourself. But to tell you guys what I learned from him was that if you get a multivitamin, and you can get it for just a few cents a day, you want to take about 3 of them a day. He's saying that if the bottle calls for 1 tablet daily, to go ahead and take 3 of them, like double it up basically, or triple it up, as much as you feel comfortable. I don't think it's going to hurt your health. Maybe some of you who have some underlying conditions, I really doubt it that it even hurt you guys. You might want to check with your, I don't think your doctor is going to say that it's the greatest thing. They're probably going to say you're just pissing out expensive vitamin water. That's why you got to listen to Andrew Saul and let him explain to you what vitamin therapy is all about. Andrew Saul was actually part of, I might get my channel shut down for doing this. Well, who gives a fuck? He actually had ties with some doctors in Wuhan, China, where this whole virus supposedly broke out. And they're healing people with the coronavirus with lots of dosages of vitamin C, just vitamin C. So check out Andrew Saul. He helped me with the vaccinations problems that I had with my children and things like that, educating. I don't know him personally. I'd love to get him on the show. But watching his information, he's helped me out a lot. And I really, really endorse Andrew Saul. He doesn't know that I exist. I really endorse this guy's work. You can tell by looking at his face that he is genuine. He's not selling you on anything. He just wants you to live healthy, and he has a lot of data and information to back everything up. Why is it not popularized? Because you can't really make a lot of money in contrast to medicine, that doctors sell, the prescriptions, in contrast to someone just taking some vitamins. So yeah, check him out. Our very last one is fuel. So there's not a lot that I can say on this that a lot of you probably haven't heard before, but I think I have a few things on this subject matter that, and a couple spurs here that'll help you out. There's not really much as far as carpool to work. I think everybody knows what a carpool is. Well, if you don't, it's when a bunch of people cram themselves in a car, split the gas, and you drive to work every single day. Maybe you can alternate vehicles and all this, but I say carpool wherever you can. If you're going grocery shopping, kids are going to school, wherever you can carpool. I don't have this on my notes, but I kind of want to tell you guys this. It's not really what you make, it's what you spend. That's what a lot of rich people, I live in a place where people live in mansions. That's why I'm set up to make the amount of money that I do. But I always ask them, what advice could you give me? And a lot of them say, you know what, when you're starting out, if you're saving up, it's not what you make. It's what you spend. And getting a handle on all that, I think that you guys can get out of any hole that you're in. And it's thinking of things like this, like really utilizing and doing the work to carpool. But I want to give you guys a little tip. And when you're carpooling, use it for creative time. Use it for getting yourself to creating some sort of side hustle, some sort of business. I don't know where you guys all live, but I used to sit in like an hour of traffic. I know a lot of people who live at least 30 minutes from their home. Let's just do some math here. And this is only going to work if you're not driving. So let's just say you had to drive one day a week with it's 5 of you. One person drives every week, so everybody could have their creative time, which I'm going to share with you guys here. So you basically go and as that time, that half an hour that you're driving to work and a half an hour you're driving back from work. Again, I don't know what time, how far away you live and what your commute is, but let's just take a look at that. That's an hour a day if it was an hour's round trip every day for you. An hour times 5 days a week that you work, five hours of that week you can devote towards building a new business, finding a new job, organizing your life, listening to podcasts like this, taking notes, organizing, trying to figure out how to use Apple's numbers or Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is that you want to apply yourself towards. And that's where I look at. We're not there yet of talking about money, but dealing with these problems with the recession is you got to put every waking hour that you got towards thinking your way out of this, towards designing your way out of here. There's all kinds of options. There's always things. I don't want to hear about how all the negatives and things like that. There's so many problems, and I'm with you guys. It's not like I just figured all this shit out overnight. Sometimes I just sit and I brood and I focus on that negativity. What is negative in my life, and why is it negative, and where did it come from? How can I fix it? And all of a sudden, sometimes in the middle of nowhere, it just pops, and the solution presents itself. So utilize that time, man. Stop watching farts, dogs farting and stuff like that. Get on your phone and start educating yourself. Start devising a plan. That's what I do all the time is I write down notes. Just sit there and overlook your notes. Look at your life. Get a perspective of it, and then start writing a plan so you know what to do. One trip, weekly shopping, and errands. Again, like I said, a lot of you guys probably already know this stuff, already doing this. But to me, my goal is to not shop really but once every 2 weeks. I've got myself set up with I got a couple freezers. I got a refrigerator with a freezer. I got tons of meats. I've got rice. I've got beans. I've got noodles. Sorry for the background noise. If you guys can hear that, it's starting to hail on me again in my truck. But yeah, I've got everything set up. The only thing that I don't have is my vegetables. And that's what I produce on my Spin Farm site as much as possible. We're behind now because of the construction, so I have to go and buy myself vegetables. I prefer to live healthy. I'm not hurting like most people, so I spend money on such things as, I've said this on my show before, this is going to be a good one as far as vegetables, of healthy foods. So what I've done, because I'm so busy, is I buy foods that don't easily spoil. I used to buy spinach and spring mix salads and stuff like that, and those turn pretty fast. There's not much nutritional value in like iceberg lettuce and stuff like that. I think they're to a certain extent, unless you're growing it like me with worm castings, there's I think a lot more than in the grocery stores, but iceberg lettuce, if you need salads and stuff like that and you're using your supplements, I said multivitamins, I think you're fine. The iceberg doesn't rot as fast as other lettuces, but some of the things I do, I drink raw juice, and I'm always working, I'm always on the run. So one of the things I buy that doesn't go bad is green apples and red apples. Those store very well. They don't need refrigeration. I use ginger, which I don't think needs refrigeration too much. I also use garlic, and this is in my raw juices and my cooking. I use a lot of celery. Celery does need refrigeration, but it doesn't rot as quickly as other things. Oranges is another one. They don't need refrigeration. Tomatoes, those also don't need refrigeration. I basically make a whole bunch of raw juices and add whatever I can. I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Cucumbers, those last. I can make cucumbers last about a week or so if they're organic and they haven't been irradiated or anything like that. Which I think that's what they're doing with our food, because I'm buying organic and some of this shit, you guys, it's lasting weeks. I'm like, holy shit. Lately, I've been eating a lot of turnips, rutabaga, some root crops and stuff like that. Potatoes, again, would be a good one. It's not the top of the health, I think. All the starchy foods and stuff like that, carbohydrates, but they store very well. So start looking at foods that don't need refrigeration, that last a long time. And I'm talking vegetables, raw vegetables and fruits. Bananas is another one. Start getting your vitamins and your health by doing this. But you can go literally once a week if you simplified your food. You don't need to be eating fancy foods all the time. Same as I told you guys with these milkshakes and stuff like that I drink, these plant-based protein powders. I live on raw juices too. That's my I guess I've said this on my show before, but being so busy as I am, working so many hours, that's what I consider my salad and my dosage of raw vegetables. So I can drink a quart of juice. Just make sure you don't shit your pants. Got to watch out with that celery, But that's my dosage for the day. If I could get half a quart down per day, I make 4 quarts. That way by Friday I can actually make myself a salad. Say Monday through Thursday I'm just drinking a half quart of juice, and that's it's healthy, it's cheap, and I only have to go to the store, talking about fuel, once a week. But once I start producing my own foods on my Spin Farm site, I have so many greens and vegetables and stuff like that. I don't think I'd need to go to the store but every 2 weeks. So if you had a place that you're farming where you could walk to or on your own property, it really, really helps out, especially if you could scale up to a little bit larger than just a little, 4 by 8 foot garden. So yeah, if you can take errands and all that and make one trip, and a lot of things, I guess it's like the ABCs of fuel consumption. It's not, most of you already know this, but a lot of you guys will drive and you'll zigzag. You'll go to the grocery store and you go to the post office and then you go visit a friend and you guys go to the park and you do this, that, and look what you're doing. I think just like martial arts, you want to refine the movements that you're making. You want to make each move count, and you want to execute it from your core, and you want to make sure that you're not wasting any energy. So why not map out where you're going and do a full circle? If you start adding things up, the pennies, especially for people who aren't making a lot of money, your shit's hitting the fan, all the nickel and dimes and quarters, they add up. So instead of zigzagging around from one place to the other, make it more efficient. Map it all out so that you stop from one place and you just like a wagon wheel, a circle. You hit one, you hit the other, the post office, the bank, the park with your kids to play, and then you just make your way right back home. Walk if you can. I think it's not if you have a family you got to grocery shop for, it's kind of hard, but if you're stocked up pretty well on grains and canned foods and things like that, and all you need is a few vegetables, get yourself a nice backpack, or maybe even one of those tricycle bikes with the baskets in the back, or even a bicycle that carries the little baby strollers. I did that for a while when I'd bicycle down to get beer and groceries, and it was some hills. It wasn't very easy. But yeah, I'd load up this little baby carriage thing. It was basically a tow behind a little trailer. Put all my goods in there and I'd pedal myself back home. So if you can walk, and I think if you've positioned yourself where you live in a place that's semi-rural like I am, it's not possible. The nearest place for me to even drive to get my groceries is about 15 to 20 minute drive. It's a few miles. And there's no sidewalks. I'm semi-rural, believe it or not, and it's not very conducive. I would say if any of you have lost your shit and you're moving, get to a place where you can walk to the grocery stores, walk to work, walk to the bank, and maybe possibly we wouldn't even have to have a car. I think it would be very helpful. So if you're relocating, you definitely want to consider that. So I'm all done here, guys. I think we're going into almost an hour on this. In short, to sum all this stuff up, you need to organize your home like a business. You need to organize your life like a business. I've said this a lot, and I will continue to the lifetime of this show. It is a business, people. And what is everything? What's the big trouble? What's got us in our bind? It's money. We're losing money. We lost our jobs, and we didn't plan for things. We didn't plan for retirement. We didn't plan for emergency funds and things like that, and we're fucked. Well, it's money, and it's because you weren't organized. And if you look at your home, you're carrying food, right? You're carrying a currency, a product that you need. It's basically like a fuel, like you've got a bunch of gas tanks, and if you don't have the food and your gas tank in your body's empty, your body's not, it's going to get sick, and in some cases you starve to death. So it takes money to buy all this food. It takes money for gas. It takes money to run a refrigerator. It takes money to make money. So why would we not organize these things, our homes, as far as the efficiency of what we have in our food pantries, what we have in our fridges, journaling to know exactly what it is that we're eating, to get a perspective of all these things, and then start designing it like a business, to run efficient, to actually produce healthy, happy people, to produce shelter. When you're getting a shelter for yourself, a home, a tiny home, a trailer, whatever it is, find something that's conducive to you. Go to the minimal amount, the smallest amount, and practice. I think that's another one I'd like to say here, is that you can turn this into a game. I think I've said this on in my other earlier shows, was turn it into a game with your family to see how low you guys can go. And I mean, pretend like, even though it's not the end of the world, pretend it's the end of the world. Pretend that all you got is rice to eat for this week and a few supplements and water, and do that. And then do a little splurge at the end of that week, just to compliment your family or yourself, and treat yourself to something. You go, wow, I was able to do that. How did that make me feel? As again, I said, that food, whatever you splurge on, is going to be the best food you've ever tasted. You've purged. But yeah, that's the show, guys. I'm rambling off about so much here. But yeah, we're gonna get into some things here. The things that I'm teaching you, sharing with you guys here today, of using the Apple's numbers, getting perspective. If you think about it and look at it, it's like a business. And if you start running your home, your life like a business, it will change the course of your life. I guarantee you, that's how I'm able to do what it is that I do. I know what's coming in. I know what's going out. I know what I can afford and can't afford. I actually have financial control to make as much money as I want, or least amount. But how would I know how I'm going to live comfortable, what I'm capable of doing, if I don't know running the numbers, if I don't know what those numbers are, And if I have a dream and I have things such as I do to create an internet business of gardening, of teaching people how to garden online, how am I able to do that and budget for that and to get that off the ground without saving money? How am I supposed to save money if I don't know what my comfort zone is or what my safety zone is? I had to run the numbers. I had to run it like a business. So that's all I have to say. You guys comment. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to know what you guys are hungry for. I want you to, if this show needs to be even more simplified, please tell me. It really helps out a lot. It helps me keep putting on these shows here. And if you guys want the show to keep going, I need comments. I need you guys to go and like, only if you like it. Don't be doing me no favors. If I suck, I suck. Don't comment, and don't give me any likes. Don't give me any reviews or nothing. Then I'll know in about a couple months from now that this show needs to end. But yeah, to get some momentum, and it really, the comments really get me jazzed up. It fills up my fuel tank. Go ahead and do that for me, please, if you will. So that's the show. If you guys like this sort of thing, check out TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere you can find podcasts. It's all up and in it. I will be here broadcasting at least 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We're going to give it a big shot to keep those 3 days dedicated, but I'll be here to send a message out, to help you guys in need, to help you guys live a better life, to help you guys design your own way, and move from surviving to thriving, guys. That's the whole premise of this show. So go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, my friends.